I am recording this section of the video on May 25th, 2017, which means that today it is the 40th anniversary of when the very first Star Wars movie came out. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, although when it originally came out, it was not called A New Hope, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't called Episode 4 when it first came out either. So as a result of that, a few days ago, I got this. This is the 40th anniversary Star Wars Smuggler's Bounty box. And I'm going to go ahead and open this up right now. So if you've seen my previous Star Wars Smuggler's Bounty videos, you know that the two things I care about most are the patch and the pin, and that's the very first thing you see when you open the box. So this time we have Luke Skywalker, and as you can see, it says 40th anniversary on it. That's really cool. And then the pin is Chewbacca. It's just a nice little Chewbacca there. It's blurry, it's not focusing, but you get the idea. So now let's see what's in the rest of the box. It's a really huge box. So first off, we have this set of Star Wars branded wristbands. You know, they're like athletic wristbands for, I guess sweatbands would be another term for this. Sweat wristbands, maybe? I guess sweatband would usually just be the headband, wouldn't it? But that really has nothing to do with this. Anyway, I might think of a situation where I can wear these. I am fairly unathletic and fairly unexercisey, but it's something that I really need to start doing, so maybe this will convince me to do it. Probably not, but you know, it's worth a dream. That's kind of adorable. Next up we have, well, you see Funko, they have a line of pops that are known as Pop Home. They're basically, you know, pop-shaped home item. Like, there's been a lot of mugs. I have like 4 different Funko Pop mugs now. And this one is a Han Solo and Greedo salt and pepper shaker set. That's so random and adorable at the same time. It's a, ooh. Collect the entire line of Star Wars Funko Pop housewares. Probably not something I'm going to do, but this, I mean, I don't actually have like a fancy salt and pepper shaker. I just have the, when you buy it, the what it comes in, so I may actually use these. And then the last thing in the box, and the reason why it's so big, and Buddy is actually climbing in it right now, is this. It is a Luke Skywalker Funko Pop in his speeder. As you can see, it's really large. And this is really cool. And, like, most importantly, this is a Smuggler's Bounty exclusive. The only place you can get this was in this box. So that's pretty amazing. There's probably not a lot of these. So there you have it, the Star Wars Smuggler's Bounty 40th anniversary box. But he's in the box now and, you know, doing the scratching the back of his head with his hind leg. That's what that sound was. So there you have it, the Star Wars Smuggler's Bounty 40th anniversary box. It's not the 40th anniversary of the Smuggler's Bounty box, it's the 40th anniversary of Star Wars, as I said before. It didn't seem like there was a lot in there. There was only the 3 items and then the pin and the patch in there, but that pop, this alone is worth the money for the box, because this is so, like, incredible and rare, because, as I said, it's only in this box. It's also kind of weird that they didn't have the card in it that they usually have that shows you all the things that are in it and then what's coming in the next box. But whatever, I don't really need that. I know what's in it. I just saw what's in it. But anyway, that's not the only thing I'm going to talk about that's owned by Disney in this video. Roll the thing.
Alright, you guys.
Hey guys, Sean here. So actually, wait. Let me get a little closer.
Okay.
Hey guys, Sean here. So as you can see, of course, this video is about Disneyland. Now if you watched last week's video, you know that because I mentioned it. There were two main reasons for this visit to Disneyland. First off, was to get the footage for last week's video about my favorite things about California. Secondly, I wanted to ride something I have never ridden before, and I wanted to see some things that I haven't seen since I first went to Disneyland when I was like 8 years old. So that was the main goals of this trip to Disneyland. So the first thing I did was I turned to my left and I filmed these adorable ducks. There's always two ducks together. It's always a male and a female, and I suppose you could say like, oh, it's Donald and Daisy, but no, that makes no sense. These ducks have markings on them. They're not all white. So the next thing was to head to the ride that I haven't ever ridden at Disneyland, but along the way, I happened to notice that the Haunted Mansion had no line whatsoever. Now, for the last few months, the line for the Haunted Mansion has been like 45 minutes, so I was like, I have to go do this. So I walked into the turnstile. They actually started to move the gates around so that it was a shorter wait, and I walked on in like 8 minutes into the room with the stretching paintings, and then I got on the ride, and I had to wait a little bit once we got inside because they had to shut it down so someone in a wheelchair could get on, or on a rascal, whatever it was, because that's the only time that they ever shut the ride down, because since all the cars are connected, if they need to give someone assistance to get on the ride, they have to stop the whole ride. Same thing happens in Astro Blasters, but that's so much better because you're shooting things and you can rack up your score. But it was really cool to ride the Haunted Mansion because I haven't done it in a very long time. Once I was done with that, it was time to ride this ride, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Now, I bet a lot of people don't even realize that this ride exists. Why do I think that? There was a 5-minute wait, so people don't even realize it's there. The main reason people don't realize it's there is it's at the beginning of a dead end, and the only thing past this ride is the exit for Splash Mountain. Why more people don't get off Splash Mountain and then ride this, I don't know. Maybe because if you ride it once, you've seen it, and so you don't need to ride it again. Also, you're riding in these giant honeycombs that have 3 seats in them. I was in the back, and there was a family that was in the first two. The husband and wife, and then their one daughter, and then the husband was holding an infant. And the ride operator was like, you have to turn her around and put her under the lap bar for safety reasons. And he was just like, okay. And then he was all grumbly after that because they cared about his infant's safety, but whatever. But yeah, the honeycombs, they are not very big. And for someone like me who has long legs, I couldn't sit straight on. I had to sit to the side because of how tight it is. Of course, this section is the Huffalumps, I believe, where it's basically Pooh having a nightmare or a honey-induced hallucination. I'm not exactly sure. The song is really nice in there. I would play the song, but last time I did a Disney video, I got a copyright strike on it, and I can't monetize that video anymore, so not going to do that again. And here, of course, you see Pooh stuck in the honey hole. I mean, okay, that sounded much worse than it actually is. And here they are celebrating his birthday. Hooray, Pooh, we love you. Yay. So after this, it was time to eat. So I walked out, headed down. There's the Hungry Bear restaurant, which is hosted by Dixie. The cup. Dixie cups. I had what is a turkey or chicken wrap, I can't remember. And they had those huge onion rings, which were really good. And it was tasty. So after that, I was like, alright, let's go see something I haven't seen since I first came here when I was 7 or 8 years old, when Star Tours first opened. And that is the Enchanted Tiki Room. Now, the Enchanted Tiki Room is apparently Walt Disney's most favorite thing in the entire park, and that's why it has not changed in 50 years. Like, it hasn't been updated or anything. It's exactly the same as it was the day it opened. And it really shows, and I will explain why in a second. But first, where I was sitting, there was this bird of paradise right above me that was just flapping open. Like, it was warming up for the show. It's not supposed to do that, but it was just kept clapping. Just over and over, and it was very distracting. But anyway, as I was saying, this show has not been updated in 50 years, and the way that it really shows is the four main birds are horrible, horrible racial stereotypes. The first one, his name is Jose. He talks exactly like you would expect him to talk. He talks like Speedy Gonzales. Why do I say that? I'm pretty sure Mel Blanc does his voice. Next is a very posh British bird named Michael. Then next is a sensual bird named Pierre, who is French. And then last is a German bird named, I think, Clyde, something like that, who, of course, said Ach du Leben and stuff like that. And yeah, they are very strong racial stereotypes, and I was very surprised that that hasn't been updated. So I needed to cleanse my palate of the racism, and I went to see Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. One of the things they have in there, of course, is this diorama of the Capitol building, which is really cool. And then when you go in, there's a little video presentation about Abraham Lincoln, and then it opens up and there's a animatronic of Lincoln who stands up and says things. It's very patriotic, very USA. Another thing they have in there is this little section that shows the future of Disneyland, and it shows these concept arts of the Star Wars land that is going in, which is going to be really, really amazing when it opens up, and I can't wait for it, but it's going to be so busy. Speaking of Star Wars, it was time for me to head to... Speaking of Star Wars, it was time for me to head to Star Tours because I had a fast pass for it. But if along the way, I of course stopped and went into the movie theater to check out the cartoons like I always like to, and to see how many people are in there. There was 2 people in there at this time. And I watched Steamboat Willie for a little bit. Of course, Steamboat Willie is known as the very first cartoon with Mickey Mouse in it. Here is Mickey Mouse's very first appearance in anything ever. But the thing people don't really mention much is, yes, it's also the first appearance of Minnie Mouse, but it is also the very first appearance of Pete, who is just kind of been the main bully in the Disney cartoons over the however long it is. Pete was actually Goofy's neighbor in Goof Troop and the father of Goofy's son's best friend, and it's just weird that he doesn't get the recognition of being as old as he is. Oh, and now it's time... Now it's time to ride Star Tours. Now, this time when I rode Star Tours, I got... The first planet was Kashyyyk, which is the Wookiee home planet, which I haven't seen since I've been going to Disneyland again recently. And then the hologram was Yoda, and the last section was the Death Star 2. After I left that, I went and got on the Astro Blasters, which is one of my favorite things to do, and I walked pretty much right on, and I got a score of 163,700, which was level 4, and I was like, oh well, I guess I'm not going to do any better than that. So I walked out, and I was like, alright, it's getting late. I should probably go home at this point. Because it was like 10 o'clock by this point. But then it was like, whatever. I'll go ride it again. And this time I walked right on. And again, I got level 4, but it was 191,700. So it was a little better. So after leaving that, I was like, okay, now I'm really gonna leave. But you know what? Let's ride Star Tours one more time. And so I did, and I'm glad that I did, because the first planet this time around was Jakku. Now, Jakku was introduced into Star Tours when The Force Awakens came out 2 years ago. And because it's the main planet from the beginning of The Force Awakens. And I had never seen it in Star Tours, so I was very glad that I did that again. And then the hologram was Yoda again, and the last section was Coruscant, which I really like Coruscant because there's a section where the Star Tours vehicle loses its jet propulsion, and then you start going straight down. You start heading straight down, and it's very realistic, and you're like, ah! So yeah, that was my latest visit to Disneyland. It was a lot of fun. I got to do things that I haven't done before, and I got to see some Star Tour things that I hadn't seen before, and it was a good night. One of the things I've been noticing is that I don't have any Star Wars related pins, and part of the problem with that is that the Star Wars pins are all really big. But luckily, recently one of my co-workers went to Disneyland for Star Wars Day, which, if you don't know, is May 4th, because it's May the 4th be with you. And they always do exclusive pins for that time. And he was able to pick up the 2 exclusive pins for me. Now, editing, Sean, if we could make me a little bigger here, that would be helpful. Thank you. So the first one here is this Luke Skywalker one. As you can see, it says May 4th, 2017, and limited edition. And then they always do one for May 5th because it's Revenge of the 5th for Revenge of the Sith, and it's always a dark side character. So this one is Darth Vader, and as you can see, it says May 5th, 2017. So that's really neat. I won't actually put these on my lanyard because of how big they are. Now, one last thing. When I lined up to get on the tram, something happened that I hadn't really seen happen before in Disneyland. So the tram that was going to leave before I got on the next one just kind of parked there, and they were waiting. And they announced there's something going on along the road. We got to wait here a little bit. We will get you going as soon as we can. And so it was like 3 minutes, and then these 2 security people came up, and they walked up to a guy that was on the outside row, and they just kind of talked to him for a little bit, and then they took him off the tram. And I have no idea what that was about, but that was really like, ooh, he did something. I can't imagine what it was, but he's going to Disney jail. Ooh, Disney jail. I don't know if Disney jail is an actual thing. I've just always heard it as a thing. The camera's really blurring out in this section. Anyway, that was my recent visit to Disneyland. I love going. You'll see another one probably in another month. I have now actually reached the point where every time I go, I essentially make money because I have gone enough times where the annual pass has paid for itself. So that's good. Anyway, until next time, have a good however long it is until you watch my next video.